Hello, and welcome to the RuggedAngel Cast, a space for women to share their stories, beliefs, and histories that have formed who they are today. This week, as I continue to speak with the women of the Not White Collective, Maggie Lynn Negrete joins me to discuss the impact of motherhood on her artistic journey and the need to find balance. Maggie has returned to playing music as a way to create more joy in her life as well as her family's. This conversation highlights the importance of finding moments of ease and enjoyment amidst the demands of parenting, especially those who are parenting during the pandemic. We also discuss our shared challenges in motherhood, like how much that mental load impacts creativity. If you want to listen to Maggie's previous visit to the Rugged Angel Cast, check out episode 60. But for now, let me reintroduce Maggie Lynn Negrete with her triumphant return as Rugged Angel number 131. Maggie Negrete, welcome back to the Rugged Angel Cast.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a long time that we've even spoken.
Other side
of
motherhood.
Right? Exactly. That's crazy. Last time we talked on mic and even just in person was I don't think either one of us had a child. And now Here we are with full on 5-year-olds just ready to tackle the world. And that's one of the things we will get into as part of today's discussion. We're here to talk about you and your relationship with the Not White Collective, as well as just whatever else you've got going on, new projects, because you're a woman who has always got something cooking on the stove.
Lots of things, of course. Too many things.
So for those who don't know, your primary medium of artistic talent is illustration. Yes?
Yes, correct. I used to do it all by hand with the blue pencil, and now I'm fully digital.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so digital art, it's been a game changer. It started with motherhood because I just was like, I don't think I can breastfeed and ink confidently at the same time. So it has using an iPad has revolutionized my process. It's so much faster. I can be so much more responsive. But it definitely was a big shift to move from being an artist that really likes all
the tactile.
I have a background in printmaking, so that is such a physical thing that I love. But it's so convenient. I can't.
Yeah, that's kind of the same way. Yeah, the same way I felt transferring from film, from camera photography, film photography to digital. I was like, I don't know. I really like the dark room. I really like getting in there and printing it myself. But then it's I could just shoot forever.
Yeah, there's a little bit more play for experimentation. I love being able to do undo.
Yeah.
Get the line perfect. Right.
Yeah.
I feel more confident getting work out that I love. There's nothing worse when you're using physical mediums and you make an irreparable mistake.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh no, this is ruined, perhaps. Or do I just accept it at whatever it is in this moment? And so that there's a little pressure that gets released too when you can always say undo.
Right.
That's helpful, right? There's enough stress in life.
Exactly. And speaking of that, you just mentioned that, you made the switch to digital once you became a mom because it's just more convenient that way for you in that space. And so how has having a child shifted or changed your artistic journey? Because also you were like me, probably when your daughter turned 1, it was probably right there at pandemic or right around that time.
Mora was a year and a half when lockdown happened. So it was unfortunate, to say the least. I mean, that 1.5 year mark was a point where I was really ready to start getting back to work a little bit more, trying to like enter back into education, teaching. I'm as a teaching artist in different spaces, and I was ready to start really putting those feelers out there for summer and for the next school year to have a regular gig again.
Right.
And then when lockdown happened, it was like nobody's doing anything.
Right.
And I don't have much video skills, so I didn't feel confident just like suddenly jumping onto YouTube and making content.
Right.
I had a few people say, "Oh, well, just start doing online courses and whatnot." And I was like, with being a mom too, I'm like, I don't have time to like learn how to do all of that well
Yeah.
to do the work that I already do right now. So
Mm-hmm.
it definitely pushed back my timeline. I feel like re-entering the world after being home with my daughter, because when she was born, I had left my job. I was running an after school program, and it was just not going to work
Yeah.
to try to coordinate care and
Yeah.
just money too. So,
Oh, yeah.
and it luckily, because I am an artist and I can freelance from home, I was able to still work a little bit while I was home with Mora, but I was ready to like see people again. And then lockdown happened.
Exactly.
And I couldn't see anybody. So I think that, now that my daughter is in kindergarten, well, she just finished, this is her last day for podcast people out there. The last day of school. We're very excited. Her being back in school, things around COVID relaxing, so there's more, live music and whatnot happening. I feel like I just like,
You have come out of your cocoon.
yeah, I was just like busting out, ready to just get back in the classroom, get back in these spaces that, where artists dwell. And
Right.
I tried to get into social media more, since we couldn't get together in person. I was like, okay, I'll start trying to make content.
Yeah.
And I'm tired.
It's difficult. I feel for some people anyway. Like for me personally, I never really got into just like pushing out more of the like videos of myself and like that kind of thing. I mean, it's odd as I sit here interviewing you for a podcast that's going to be uploaded soon. But it's still like, just kind of like that organic nature that people have where they can just make like a video, a TikTok video or Instagram reel. And, and it's funny or creative or it's, insightful or something like that. That's a lot of pressure on me. I felt.
Yeah. And I had a friend who does like a lot of online marketing, social media, SEO, all that stuff, try to kind of help me and like create more of a strategy. And I worked on it so hard for like a real solid 1.5 years, like
Oh, wow.
pumping out videos.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't really feel like it was making a difference. And, I just am not a viral person. I think I'm more of like I'm more of a slow cooker, not not a,
Right.
So that's been the other like tricky part, right? Is like figuring out as you're like re-emerging as with your identity of motherhood, of it as an artist, finding the spaces that fit for your capacity, both emotionally and time wise.
Yeah.
I think that's been the trickiest part. Is it's brand new, not even just because I'm now a mom, but also because this is like the post COVID world.
Mm-hmm.
Things are a lot different. Things are
Yeah.
very different. Just from, I know you organized so many different events back in the day.
Yeah. And like, luckily I had, because much like my motherhood story is like kind of similar. It's like Kajia turned a year, like a month after lockdown, a month after when lockdown happened. And like that first year of her life, I had gone down to working part-time, and then just eventually was like, okay, I can't
Yeah.
work at all at this point in time. And then so like, much like you, like that first year, once we hit like, all right, this is your first birthday, now we can go and do stuff, I can, start getting myself together and blah blah blah. And then
Nope.
nothing. Not so much.
Nope.
And yeah, and luckily I had kind of already stepped back from producing in-person events before Kaja, right around when Kaja was born, because I knew I wasn't going to have that time. But I couldn't imagine trying to make that shift when we were going through pandemic and going through the lockdown, because that like a lot of people were hit very hard, and that took a big toll on my feeling of personal worth. And
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we're both people that were organizers, right? We're people,
right,
we're people.
right,
And not having access to those spaces, to those conversations is
yeah,
hard. And I mean, and then let's like not even getting into like the financial freedom.
right,
That's, as women who've always taken care of business.
right. Now it's like, now you find yourself in this space of like, everything is very limited. Everything is limited, and everything seemed so scary and temporary.
Yeah.
It was just a real fucked up time.
Yeah. I mean, a lot changed in our family during COVID. Like my husband was working nights and weekends doing bar shifts, and
Oh, wow.
COVID hit, he was home a lot, which was great. And that gave us a little bit of time for me to try to start some things for myself, but all the online stuff.
Right.
But then it ultimately was just like, no, that's not great. And
like, this isn't working.
he ended up starting working back a house, which it makes such a difference when you can be on a more similar schedule, your partner, and find that balance together. But yeah, it's been really great to feel the energy that I feel like is coming out of this new year. So many people are touring music wise.
Yeah.
Because that's, I think for me, is one of my big, like, kind of spaces that give me a lot of release is live music.
Yeah.
Huge. I love local bands. I love touring bands, but I would love to just go to a little club and just see people I know rock out.
Right.
And that brings me so much joy, and it wasn't there for so long. Or it was there under, everybody was like looking at each other weird, there was a lot.
Yeah.
Which is actually one of the things that I started doing this year. Was I started playing with a local band.
Really?
One of my friends,
I had no idea, for whatever reason. I just didn't know that you were a musician.
In a former life. I grew up with a lot of musical people in my family, or at least audiophiles. And then I started playing saxophone when I was, in school, and I gave up saxophone for theater and eventually gave up playing the bass guitar to draw.
Oh, wow.
Because it's easier to bring a sketchbook around than it is my bass.
I mean, true, but
so yeah, like when I was in college, I kind of gave up music as like a primary creative outlet. But my friend Jennifer Barron, who is the songstress behind the Garment District, we actually met when I was a teen, working and taking classes at the Mattress Factory.
Oh, cool.
Couple decades ago. And now we've have a friendship now as adults, and she heard that I played sax. Like, oh yeah, I used to play sax when I was younger. You know, and just like having a lot of fun trying to play it again. And she's like, oh, you should come play with me. I have some saxophone on a couple of the songs, and we never have horns when we play live, so it would be really cool to have some horns live. So luckily it's the kind of situation where she writes everything. Like, she's incredible.
Wow.
So she just like sends me audio files and is like, okay, this is the part, and like, come to practice. So I'm like, I can do that.
That's great.
And so it's been really fun. We're going to be playing with, one of the openers for Witch, We Intend to Cause Havoc, which is a
I like that.
psych band. So I was so excited when that call came. Like, hey, play with Witch. Like, yeah.
That's dope. So tapping into this part of you that had been hidden for so long, like, how does that feel to...
It's so nice. And I think it was really kind of helpful to touch on this other more performative side of myself, especially because, like we were just saying, with lockdown and motherhood, I felt like I was gone. I felt like I was like, locked away like Rapunzel in a castle.
Right.
And I like to be at home, and I can be a homebody, but I do definitely enjoy kind of being in front of people. I can turn it on. You've seen me turn it on.
Yeah.
Events where it's like, all right, now I have to give the spiel and do the tour or whatnot.
It's public face. Now it's showtime.
Right. And there is an aspect to that happens as a teacher, being an educator, but making music is a whole nother feel. Like, it's fun. It's so much fun. So yeah, it was really helpful, I think, to come back out into the world, and it it was a pretty chill thing, just tooting my horn, as I say. But yeah, it reminded me just like there are seasons to life. And I think that's one thing I tell a lot of new moms too, is you're not going to be able to do as much or the same as you used to. At least not now. Right now the focus is your kid and your family and just keeping it all together, like your sanity.
Yeah.
And this is a season, right? And like, I gave up music how many years ago to make art in a different way, and now I'm just gonna come back and have fun with it. And it's not, there's no stress of like hustle, which I think is important. Like, this is like, it's like, oh, I'm actually just doing this as a hobby.
Yeah, like, this is just fun for me. Like I just something I want to do for me.
Yeah. That's I think really important, and is really hard as a mom, because it is. You're always thinking, what does my kid need? What are we making for dinner? Like, like in the back of my head, I'm like, I have to pull some meat out to thaw. Like,
right. The list is endless.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, I need to do a laundry of her a load of laundry for right now.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
she has something to wear tomorrow. That kind of thing. It's just,
there's so many things like constantly looping in the brain that I think it's nice, to have something that is just for pure fun, low stakes, and I'm feeling very done with the hustle culture.
Oh my goodness.
I want to know ease. That's the focus I'm on. Flow. There's definitely that pressure to say, okay, well, if I have free time, how am I going to maximize it?
Yeah.
How am I going to make it productive?
Right.
And I don't know, sometimes I think it's like I need to just stare into a corner.
Sometimes it is that exactly what's needed, especially as a mom, because, I never saw myself. I think the word like overstimulated was something that I never really fully understood until after having a child. And it's a real thing. And it's like, and I get it. I understand like how easily it can happen with there's this, other little person and in your space all the time and just always, needing something, wanting something, mostly attention and, and then just always talking and, and
Yeah, I've had more than a few people tell me, you got to get that girl in a sport.
Yeah.
Because I mean, my, and that's sometimes where you see the differences between like yourself and your partner. Where like I was not that kid. I was like I'm gonna sit here in my dream world.
Yeah, absolutely. I was totally fine just like sitting somewhere and reading.
And my husband, his family said that they called him Baby Spider-Man. So that is another thing is like, yeah, is dealing with the overstimulation, like, leaving space for like, what if your kid isn't like you?
Yeah.
What if your kid doesn't like the same things you like?
Yeah.
And being like, okay, well, I'm just going to play. What does Maura have me playing recently? She had me playing this game today at the bus stop called After School Monster that would turn you into a cat. And my name was Moody and her name was Cutie.
Okay.
I'm just like, all right, like I'm just gonna roll with it. And just like, it's 8 a.m. I am so confused.
Yeah. I don't know. This morning, my Kajia was like, I'm going to be the baby ladybug and you be the mama ladybug. And then we're going to, I'm like, okay, that's, can you just put your shoes on, please, so we can go?
Yeah. Like, I need the motivation for this ladybug. What is the motivation?
Can I get some backstory?
And, the creative play with kids is fun, but it also does kind of suck some of your creativity as an artist.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it is a mental load. When you're, I mean, not just to have the like, is there meat thawing? Is there a load of laundry? But then to also be like, okay, what is the weird made up name that I'm going by today that my child has decided? What is the backstory of this whole weird?
Because if I fuck it up, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a problem. So then when, the end of the day comes and you're like, I have a moment to like, for me, like maybe draw. Usually I'm just like, I can't. Like, my brain just starts shutting down. And it's like, maybe I'll get a 30-minute episode of something in before I'm
just done. Yeah, like the days of, my husband and I just having, sitting and watching a movie after, she's gone to bed, that doesn't exist. Like, it's like, yeah, sure, we can try. But like 20 minutes in, I'm out.
Yeah. So that's the tricky part, I think, that I'm still figuring out is like, what is making art still look like? And where are the spaces where I make art for myself versus just taking commission. I have intentionally stopped looking at artist calls.
Oh,
wow. Because it was one of those capacity things. There's like, do I have the capacity to be looking for artist calls, answering artist calls, and then not get artist calls?
Yeah.
There's a cost benefit analysis that I find is just better for me to be like, hey, who wants a portrait?
Right.
Or, I have I'm lucky enough that I have a few recurring clients.
That's good.
That, I'm not making a salary, but I'm,
it's steady.
It's steady. It's something to pay the bills and fill the gaps. Especially as, I mean, I'm going back to school too. So that's
wow.
pile
really
of things.
Are you going back this fall or are you
I
starting sooner?
started this for the summer semester, so
Oh, wow.
um, it's it's an online program for counseling,
Okay.
and so
Counseling. All right. So we're getting into a completely new, not really completely because you've been doing education for a while. So I feel
yeah,
like it's kind of the same vein.
it's a step to the side, you know.
Mm.
Whereas I always felt like education was supposed to be the side hustle to make
Uh,
the art work, you know.
mm-hmm.
But that pay doesn't pay enough, right?
Yeah.
And um, I still want to make my art, but I want to have less stress about making my art,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so, you know, one of the members of the Nawe Collective, Liana Manise, is a counselor, has just started her own private practice, and it was through a lot of like conversations over the years with her that she was like, you should try it. You should see if you would want to do this, because you could. I think you're already doing this
Wow.
with you know, working with students, and then I do read cards when I vent with
Okay.
my witchy stuff, because that's where
Yeah, that's right.
my, you know, my personal art has like manifested, is through La Mama Magia, which is like all my witchy stuff, and where I read
Nice.
cards and do astrology. And, you know, that was my pandemic hustle.
Right on. Reading
Yeah,
cards.
doing reading, and I've been making bandanas, and that's been fun. And I want to be able to do that and not have to be like, is somebody going to hire me for this, that, or the other?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the counseling, it was funny because I've had so many like card reading or astrology reading clients be like, this is like a therapy session, like, or
Hmm.
like you're saying, you just said the same thing my therapist told me, or you know, just that it had that therapeutic quality.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh well, maybe I could do this,
Yeah.
and have still have the flexibility, right? Because that's the other part.
Yeah.
It's like I haven't gone back to a full-time out of school time job, you know,
Right.
running education programs like I was doing. I haven't gone back to that because it's not really the most flexible for my family.
No, it causes much more stress and strain than it's really worth in the long run.
Yeah, so the question became, okay, so if it's not that, then what? I like come up in art through like zines and
Hmm.
like DIY culture, you
Right.
know. It's hard to have that punk ethos and also like be like, I'm gonna make money, you know.
Right.
Like, it's, you know, whenever I see like little punks like selling their stickers at shows, I'm like, charge more. Like,
You
you
should be getting
still
a whole
need to
dollar more for
eat,
this sticker.
you know. And so that's been like something that's been a struggle, is just always feel like I have the capital to then put enough money into the production value of my work.
Mm.
That's
Yeah.
always, you know, so I'm like, oh well, then if I can make some more money, then I can come out with the dope shit.
Right. Exactly.
um so it's that's been a tough part, right? I
Hmm.
can't, and it always is like predicated on like what's gonna be the best for the family.
Yeah.
Now, it's not, you know, I'm not anymore just like this young whippersnapper who will just like,
Just take whatever opportunity comes my way. It's
yeah, and I'll make it happen. And I'll,
yeah.
you know, put my nose to the grindstone and completely forget about my personal needs, let alone
Oh,
anybody else in my vicinity, just so I can
right.
get this done. Yeah, that doesn't work anymore. That doesn't work. Um, so yeah, that's been the tough part, is like making those big changes, but I mean, I'm really thankful that I have the collective as my support. They've been
Yeah.
so motherhood, I would have probably lost my mind a lot more without them. Having their support, because most of them are moms or
Yeah.
are just very maternal energy, if not.
Yeah.
They're nurturers, they're lovers, they're healers, and it was so important to have them say, hey, it's okay if you can't do it now. It's okay if you can't be present the way some of us are able to be present. It's just you're busy, you've got a baby,
Yeah.
and that was really, really important. And it goes back to that idea of just, it's the seasons. You have to have the quiet ones, you have to have the winters,
Yeah.
and know how to lean on people.
Yeah. I think some of us, I know myself included, have some trouble, have difficulty of even just asking for the help specifically that we need, and or even and allowing it to happen, like even
Yeah.
when it's offered to you. And that was something that I had to learn early on in motherhood. Is like I was very much against bringing in, like, a nanny or any sort of like outside help, but we don't have any family here.
Yeah.
So it was just me and Dan. And he's like begging me, he's like, please, like, you are exhausted, you like, this is not like, you need help.
Yeah.
And we finally brought someone in, like, to help with the in-home nanny care, and she was fucking phenomenal and great, and like, God bless Carmela for and everything she'd helped us with and everything she did for us.
It's just, it's not normal to do it alone.
Right.
We're not supposed to do it alone. But the way our society and our culture has grown just silos us further and further.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle. It's a struggle to, I mean, I know that for myself, I was always praised on my independence and my ability to get the work done. And, I could do everything on my own.
Yeah.
And people said that was a positive.
Right. Yeah. And that was something me too. And I prided myself in that.
And so that's what makes it all the more hard when you know you need help, and you need people.
Right.
Especially that first 2 years with Mike, I would tell him, I'd be like, with the baby, I'd be like, I just need to go see strangers in a place
I've never been to.
or I need something different. I'm losing my mind. It's really hard to acknowledge that and to say, like, hey, yeah, I need to be vulnerable enough to say I need help, and to trust people to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mora, I think she's starting to realize more and more, but she's got a lot of aunties that are not family.
Yeah.
But I'm an only child myself.
Oh, really?
I have a stepsister that moved to Pittsburgh this last year and a half, which has been incredible, because it's
awesome.
like, oh wow, like we have like actually kind of a little bit of like a family vibe.
That's great.
But really just have my mom. We've got like my mom, and then just the love of friends.
Yeah.
And that's just, like, I get why people stay in like these multi-generational homes.
Right? Like, I'm starting to understand it now.
I mean, like, granted, I mean, I love my mom. Do I want to live with my mom still? No. Respect, but no.
No, yeah, like it's like, let's keep a relationship as it is.
But
And,
just like a little village with all of our own little huts. you know?
Yes, absolutely. I would.
It's
More and more I think about it, like I am not against like the whole like compound situation of just like getting a couple of your closest friends together and everybody
yeah,
putting in on a big old compound of houses,
yeah.
multiplex, if you will.
That's the hardest part is just feeling like you're part of a community, and again, that's what the collective has helped so much with for me.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm hearing that with a lot of you is it's the validation, it's the sisterhood, it's the just the support, the massive support.
Right. I mean, the collective started primarily because like Christiana wanted to just talk.
Mm,
We were coming together because we wanted to support each other and have a space to talk about our experience and the world. And we're all artists. So that's, of course, how we decided to like bring that forth.
right.
But it wasn't, the collective wasn't established because the goal was to make art.
Mm,
I think that that's maybe why we've lasted so long.
yeah.
Is that the goal is really for us to be in conversation with each other. The goal is for us to like have this space
Mhm.
to support each other. And it just so happens that we make great art,
Nice.
And I think that's why people like to work with us and why people
Mm,
feel good at our events is because we care about the people part,
mm-hmm.
care about the feelings and the emotions, and we're not shy about talking about capitalism and colonialism and all those big things that really do weigh on people. And there's only so much therapy that you can go to without putting money in your pocket,
Yeah.
right? Like if we can't address these bigger systems, then we can't find our individual liberation. um and that's the part that sometimes working with the collective people don't like too.
Ah.
We're like, so is this actually a good idea?
Yeah.
We can be shit starters sometimes too.
Well, that's what I respect about you all. Like we need those. We need the shit starters.
Yeah.
Especially in the artistic realm, especially when a group of, quote unquote other women artists are put in the mix, where it's all about there's just so much racial inequity that goes on in this town in particular. And
And we don't we're a small town, and that's good and bad,
mm-hmm.
because our networks only have so much room to breathe. And unfortunately, I think sometimes it means that people aren't willing to problematize situations and to call out
Yeah.
people. I mean, obviously, like I'm not for just canceling for no reason, but
Right.
I think in Pittsburgh we almost have the opposite problem where we don't say anything.
Nobody wants to hold anybody accountable.
Yeah, and people are not being held accountable, and they continue to parade around town.
Yeah.
And it's that's sometimes a tricky spot to be in when you're like, no, I'm not gonna keep quiet anymore. I'm gonna speak up when something's wrong.
Like, this has been a very enlightening conversation and also kind of therapeutic. Just to kind of hear what your story and motherhood story and mine, beginnings of motherhood story were kind of like aligned and it's always nice to kvetch with another mom and to just know that, yeah, this is normal. What you're feeling is normal. This is a normal, natural response to things. So let me ask you this as we bring this episode to a close. What is something that you would be disappointed if you never got to experience?
I want to go to Japan.
Oh.
That's my bucket list travel. I love to travel.
What's so special about Japan to you?
I am a little bit of a weeb. I just I want to go and like experience Ghibli and Sailor Moon, and but also the food, because like I will say that, you know, of all the cuisines in the world, the cuisine that's not of my own heritage, the one that I love the most is Japanese food.
Really?
I just love, give me like salty umami for days.
Is there any place here in Pittsburgh that has satiated that for you?
I mean, I do love umami. They're great, but I mean, so just going to ramen bar for ramen, or Fujikaya's good ramen. But yeah, I kind of dream of West Coast Japanese food.
Okay.
Just because, you know, there's just more.
Yeah.
But yeah, I want to go do all the dorky things. I studied Buddhism for a very long time when I was in college too, so I want to see some temples. And then I just want to eat. So that's my bucket list place that I
love that.
Go see. There's lots of places I want to go, but that
Japan
one is just
the big one.
You know, just because I want to go experience it. I want to taste the things, see the things.
Yeah, I hope you get there. And I'm a big supporter of people wanting to travel someplace because they want to eat there.
Yeah.
So I'm all about.
I mean, I want to eat everywhere I go. That's my favorite thing. Is trying flavors in their native habitats. They're always so different, and being like, oh, what is that spice that I just can't get?
Yeah.
Or, you know, yeah.
You can taste it now, can't you?
I know. It's like it's almost lunchtime.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Maggie. I really enjoyed talking to you again, reconnecting a little bit. And hopefully we can get together and get the girls on a play date or something.
Oh, yeah, for sure. They'd have fun.
Hey, you. Thanks for listening to the Rugged Angel Cast. This podcast was produced, hosted, and edited by Camila Adams, also known as Rugged Angel Productions. Please subscribe, rate, and share the show. It really helps with visibility. Take care.